Hello, welcome to another scrapbooking process video. I'm Tracy, also known as MercyTiara, and I make scrapbooking process videos and more here on my channel. Today, I'm going to be working on a fairly minimal layout with a diagonal design. I'm starting with this collage of my daughter. I actually took this from her Instagram and it had that black frame around it. So when I do mat it, I'm matting it on black paper just to match up with the matting that's between the photos so that I don't have to cut them all into individual photos and remat them on white. I just decided to go with the black matting. And what that means is that it looks fairly dark. So I'm going to brighten it up a little bit by matting it again. So now it's double matted, this time on white. And that adds a little bit of brightness and definition to the photo collage itself on my page. Now, this layout was inspired by this feather paper, which is one of the beautiful pattern papers that comes in the Nostalgia kit from MercyTiara Kits, which is our kit club. You can check it out. The link is on the screen and always in the information section below as well. Now, this feather paper was the starting off point, but I'm actually not going to use that as my background. I think I'm going to use this swatch paper, also from Vicky Bouton's Discover and Create collection, and that all of these came in the kit this month. I'm going to start by cutting off the designer strip, and I noticed that it's this really cool pattern, so I'm actually going to use that on the page as well, that paint splatter. And I'm going to selectively cut out a couple of these feathers. I'm going to take this whitish one, the black and white one, and then I have to choose one that has a little bit of color. This is going to be the main embellishment on this page, is this feather embellishment that I'm going to create. And so I decided to cut out that one that's half green and half beige color. It's actually a very, very light pink. Now I'm going to fussy cut these so that there's a little bit of blue showing around. The blue background is going to be my outline on these feathers. And I am cutting into the little juts and jags that are all along the outside edges of these feathers because that makes it look very detailed and interesting. And where this is going to be one of my main embellishments, I'm going to spend a bit of time making it look a little bit extra special. Now you can see that there's some veining on these feathers, and the places where there are little nicks in the feather are exactly the places where I will take my scissors and add some slits. But first, what I'm going to do is actually cut some extra stems. Is that what these are called? I don't think they're called stems, but I'm going to cut some of the extra little parts at the ends of the feathers, and I'm going to call them stems because I don't know what they're called. So here I go, following the veining that's just drawn on these feathers with my scissors to make some little slits in it, just to make them look a little bit more detailed. Now I'm cutting out these little stems as well. I chose a stem that was green to match with the green feather, a stem that had a black outline to match with the black and white one, and then a beige or cream colored stem as well. Now, the reason I'm doing that is that I wish that these feathers had longer stems. I wish that they were the kind of feathers where the feathers at the bottom are broken off, or maybe they didn't grow there, I'm not sure, and have a really, really long stem, because I'm going to combine these feathers with one of the wax seals that comes in the kit. This month, there are exclusive MTK wax seals. There are 3 of them in the Nostalgia main kit, and I want to use that wax seal, one of those wax seals. So as you can see, I'm just fussy cutting out around the edges of this and following those little juts that are in the feathers. Now it helps to have a pair of precision scissors while you're doing this because it just makes it a little bit easier to get around those little tight corners. You could do this with regular scissors if you had to. It just might, you'd need to take your time and be careful about it. And then I am bending them in the center, like so that they're a little bit folded up and fluffy looking. And I'm just taking them and roughing them up a little bit. I'm not adding a whole lot of distressing or tearing or rubbing of the edges. I'm just pulling them up. Now here are those 3 exclusive wax seals that come in the kit. And so you can see how what I'd like to have is the little stems of the feathers extending beyond where the seal is. And having those extra stems cut out just helps me give the illusion that those stems were longer than they were. Another item that came in the nostalgia kit was a printable, which is those labels there. And I'm going to use those. And I also really love this yellow paper with the little white hearts on it. And my thought is that I might use that around the outside edge of my layout to mat the whole layout on that yellow. And so I'm just looking through some of these embellishments that came in the main kit. These are from Simple Stories True Color Collection, and I love them. They're journaling die cuts. And of them, the only one that I'm going to use on this page is that one that says take the photo. I thought it looked really cute there in the center and just adds a little something to the collage. Ooh, I really love that butterfly. It's so pretty with the purple and the really dark burgundy. I love it. So I'm going to put that up there. And we'll add a little heart paperclip die cut piece from Vicky Boutin. I believe these came in the embellishment add-on. And let's not forget that yellow paper with the white hearts. I want to put a little something in the bottom corner here, giving this layout a diagonal design. And at this point, I pulled out that little journaling piece from the Memories collection that came in the main kit, that whole set of die cuts, and I love those. But then I realized I have these printables that I printed up. I just print them on cardstock through my regular printer. I have an EcoTank, and it's not a terribly expensive printer, but I'm really impressed with the quality that these labels printed out at. So I thought at first I might have to send them out to Staples to get a really good quality image, but they work fine in my inkjet printer. So I'm just cutting out a couple of them kind of roughly just to get a sense of whether I might want to use them or not. I cut a rounded one and a couple of those different shaped ones. And these are all colors that coordinate with various parts of the kit. So I'm just pulling out the colors that work the best with the colors that I have here. And the pink that I chose originally, there are 2 pinks in the labels. One pink is designed to work with some of those Simple Stories embellishments, and the other pink is more of almost like a peachy pink, like what's on this swatch background paper. So I chose a different label, one that was in that peachy pink, and I like that a little bit better. It just picks up on the pink that's already on the page instead of introducing a new pink. So here's how this layout's going to look like when it's matted with that yellow heart paper, yellow with white hearts. And that's from Simple Stories, from the True Colors collection. And so I took the manufacturer's strip off of that one. And now, because I'm going to have to, in order to glue this down, I'm going to have to take everything apart. So what I've decided to do is just grab a quick photo of it before I took it all apart so that I could put it back together again in the way that I already had it. There's no point in designing things twice or, trying to remember where it was when you can just grab a picture pretty quickly. Now, because this design of swatches is centered in the middle of this page, I'm going to take a 1/4 of an inch off of all 4 sides. Normally, if it wasn't this way, I would just take a 1/2 an inch off of 2 adjacent sides. But I wanted those swatches to remain centered in the middle. Now, I do want to use this heart paper in another place on this layout, and so I very much intentionally am gutting this. Sometimes I gut it just because I don't want to waste the paper and I don't know exactly how I'm going to use it, but I knew I would use a bit more of this paper on this specific layout, so I had to gut this if I wanted to use it. We do have a patterned paper add-on, and if you get the patterned paper add-on, you will have 2 of every paper and you won't have to worry about this, but I don't have the patterned paper add-on this month. It was in shorter supply this month, so I wanted to make sure that any of our subscribers and community members would have a chance to get their hands on one. It's almost sold out, so if you want our kit and the pattern paper add-on, I would rush over to the shop and grab it before it's gone. I'm outlining this with my very favorite blue Pitt pen. It's called Indanthrene Blue, and I really love it. It's like a purpley indigo blue. It's a little bit navy and a little bit purpley. I really love it. It's actually very similar to that blue that's on the page, on the swatch page. I am taking a page from the Sarah Wiles playbook, and I am using my fingernails to just pull up the edges of this paper so that it's just a little bit curled and maybe almost cupped, like it just pulls up almost at a 90-degree angle there. And I really love how that looks. So here's how I'm going to use this other piece of yellow paper that I rescued from the center of my matting. I'm going to triple mat my photo collage. And I think that I did that because it just felt like it needed a little bit of brightness to the photo collage. And it was one of the suggestions of one of my Patreon members. I was live streaming while I did this with my patrons, and somebody suggested that adding some pattern paper behind that would work, and I totally agree with them. So I am running that designer strip. As I mentioned, when I cut it, I noticed it and thought it would work really well with the page. And so I'm running that as my little ledge. Oftentimes my layouts have a little ledge that they sit upon, and that just helps to anchor or ground your photo on the page. So I'm going to do that. And now I'm just taking a moment to more carefully fussy cut some of these labels. So I have one of those longer ones that I'm going to tuck behind the photo, and that will kind of sit upon the ledge that I've built there, and that will hold my feather embellishment that I'm going to make. And then I have one up at the top and one at the kind of like towards the bottom. I'm actually going to put two towards the bottom. This gives me my diagonal look. If you follow the labels create a diagonal across the page. We're starting in the bottom left-hand corner, going towards the center, and then ending up in the top right-hand corner with those labels. And I will repeat that diagonal with a couple of other elements that I will explain as I go along. But that's basically the foundation of this page. I have my background, I have my little ledge, and I, of course, have my labels that set out the diagonal design of this. I'm playing around with how I want to layer these feathers, and I've decided that it's probably easiest to just glue them to one another. So I'm just using my ATG there to glue them to one another. And now I'm taking some little foam adhesive bits and I'm putting them in between the different layers to help some of those little fluffy pieces that I cut into to make them fluffy. I want to accentuate them. So I'm just cutting some of my foam adhesive pieces are pretty small already, but I'm even cutting those in half so that they form little points and so that I can add them onto each of those little fluffy layers. Sorry that I'm off screen there, but basically I'm tucking them behind each of those just to add a little bit of emphasis to the little fluffy edges that I cut on those feathers. So I'm going to do that quite a bit so that basically every one of the little slits that I cut has a little bit of foam that's just pushing it up. And then my wax seal will go there. These wax seals have adhesive backing on them already, so it's easy. And it's super strong adhesive backing, so it's easy to just pull it off. And now when I add these stems, these extra stems, I want to make sure that they are, oops, there's a picture of Scott making the wax seals. Some of my patrons were asking whether we made them ourselves or if we outsourced them. And so as I apply these extra stems, I just want to make sure that they are pointing in the right direction so that a continuous line runs from the center of each feather down to the little bundle of extra stems. It doesn't have to be perfect, but I don't want any of them to be sticking out at a strange angle that doesn't make any sense. Scott and I had a lot of fun making these wax seals. It was kind of a lot of work to make so many of them at once, but what we found is that we really learned the ins and outs of wax seals pretty quickly by making so many all-in-ones in just a couple of settings. And we really loved adding the green accents and figuring out how we would do the packaging. I love them and I can't wait to work with them. I did use 2 of them in my first scrappy sesh. I spent 6 hours scrapbooking, and this is the 3rd of 4 layouts that I created in that scrappy session. So now that I've created the main embellishment for this page, which is that little bundle of 3 feathers with the wax seal, I can go back to the overall design of this page. So I started by cutting my ledge so that it is a little bit shorter than it was before. And now I'm going to start to actually glue down some of these items. And so we just glue down the main photo collage, and then I'll tuck the label in behind it. I did cut off the label so that I could use the other half of it. And then I'm just going to glue the feather bundle because all those die cut feathers are on the adhesive backing of the wax seal. There's not that much adhesive showing, so I just use some glue to glue that down onto the label. And then I'll tuck the label so that the label slides under the photo collage and the feathers layer over top of the photo collage. And then I did add some adhesive to this ledge, and even though there's adhesive on it, I'm just holding it up off the page a little bit until I can get it exactly where I want it to be, and then I pressed it down so it'll stick. I'll add some adhesive to this label, and I'll also just kind of pull up the edges on it to make it look like it matches some of the other elements on the page that are roughed up on the edges like that. I'm actually cutting off the clip, part of the clip for this butterfly. Those clips give you a really good place for you to put your adhesive without needing to put adhesive on the butterfly itself. Although I don't think adhesive would really show if you did put adhesive on the butterflies, because even though they're acetate, they're fairly opaquely covered. They're only semi-transparent. I will rough up the edges of these labels in my bottom corner as well. And that will just give me a unified look where all of the labels on this page will have the same roughed up look. And it's a slightly different look than if I ran my Tim Holtz Distress tool around the edges. That tool gives you more of a torn look, and this gives you more of a curled up and torn look. And I really do like this look. And I want all of my labels to have this similar look to them so that that is an element that is repeated across the page. And anything that's repeated across your page will help your page look pulled together and cohesive. So let's think about the title now. I do have these cool boy stickers that you saw in the bottom corner there just for a second. They came with the kit, but I'm actually going outside of the kit for my letter stickers for this one. So the Vicky Bouton stickers that I'm using, that I got that ampersand and the word then from, those came in the nostalgia kit. And I want this title to be Then and Now. And I went into the Gather kit leftovers. So I do keep all of my kit leftovers off to the side so I can dig into them. There's often lots and lots of leftovers. So it gives you all the more options if you've been getting kits for several months. And these chartreuse green letter stickers from Pink Fresh Studio, they were in our Gather kit in the fall, and I really, really love them. As you can see, I've used them a lot, but I was able to get another word out of them, which is now. I'm just going to label these then and now with the ampersand on these little label cut aparts that I just roughed up a few minutes ago. I'm going to layer them so that the ampersand is over top of the T and a bit of the H, just to give this title a real pulled together look. And it's also going to have a bit of dimension where the top label is going to be flat on the page, and then the bottom label is going to be popped up with dimensional foam. I will put something in that little gap in front of the T, and I'm just looking for a little butterfly because these are two friends, so I would like there to be two butterflies on this page, just one representing each of the kids. Oh boy, they're not kids anymore, are they? They're 17. So because this one is not going to be tucked under anything, I'm just cutting off the paperclip part of it. This is from the Vicky Bouton die cut paper clips. Some of them are acetate and some of them are cardstock. And I'm just using my regular ATG to stick that down. And like I said, because they're not 100% transparent, you don't really see that adhesive showing through. I felt like because there's some black, there's quite a bit of black in the big ampersand and in the word then, I felt like I needed some more black up a little bit higher on the page. So I decided to take this little wonky scalloped border that comes in the Vicky Bouton sticker set and just layer it underneath of my ledge like this. And that just perfectly balances this page. I'm showing the close-ups as if I'm done. I'm going to just put the year here, and that's the year of the most recent photos. So there are photos of them over the years, and then this is the year that it was taken. Now, you might think I'm done, and I'm going to give you a quick shout out to my Patreons before I say very much, but stick around because there's more. Before I share the photos, just a quick shout out to my Patreon supporters. These folks help make this channel happen, so big thanks to all of them. And now look at these photos. I added some little confetti pieces. You can see them there. And also some very, very fine black splatter. And I added them in the 3 places where the diagonal is repeated with the labels. So each place where there's a label and an embellishment, there is a little cluster of confetti pieces and also some little splatter, which I did with a fan brush. Sorry that I didn't include that part. I do like to include my entire process in my videos, but it wasn't until I went to edit this one that I realized, wait a second, this page is missing something. So let me know in a comment below, was it worth the extra time of pulling out all my supplies and doing that and taking new photos? Let me know in a comment below, and have a really great scrappy week.